So when we think about the refugee resettlement challenge, it raises a number of questions about the law. And Craig, you recently wrote an article comparing modern views of immigration to biblical approaches. What does Judeo-Christian scripture have to say about immigration?
The article is actually a surprise for me. In seminary, we learned the basic Leviticus commandment to treat the stranger as the native. For you were slaves in Egypt, I am the Lord your God. And I've been very intrigued for years, what did that really mean? What was our Bible telling us? And the article itself was kind of a fun thought experiment to take U.S. immigration law and say, what would happen if it had been applied at the time of the Bible? And I was even surprised that if you could almost name every major biblical person, they violated U.S. immigration law. Ruth was a public charge when she was gleaning. She would not have been allowed to stay, and then the whole line is broken. Moses and David were murderers. Jesus had more immigration violations than anyone. And so it makes us realize that we wouldn't have a Bible story if immigration law. So what are we doing today? Who are we keeping out? Who are we restricting? Why are we so strict about who we can welcome as a stranger? I believe that the biblical story for me, Walter Brueggemann uses the words that the core faith is born in a matrix of exile. And for those of us living in a country like this with a lot of privilege, how does that message then get translated into thinking about living in a matrix of exile, and that we should show more ways of showing hospitality?
Right, we have to ask, what is it that we are trying to protect by keeping people out? And there have been all these studies that have shown actually that people who immigrate into the United States contribute significantly more than they take to our society and to our economy. And so it seems like there's fear that's based on an inaccurate perception of who migrants are and what they contribute to our society.
Most recently, the executive order was for our security, but there's almost no evidence of a refugee who's come through the vetting process of refugee resettlement in this country having for certainly not a terrorist act. And there might be, as humans, some of them may have committed some crimes, but in terms of fear of those individuals, they're probably the most safe individuals we have here. And once they get here, they're so, as you could see, the relief, sort of the entrepreneurial spirit, and really contribute to the growth of our country. We're doing exactly the wrong thing with this fear, and instead of letting in more folks that really want to be here.